In case this watch looks familiar to you, then because it's a variation of a long existing chronograph, and I'm happy to report that it is a very convincing and modernized variation. The original Hanhart 415 ES is a chronograph from the mid-60s. Back then a lot of watches were chrome plated, and therefore the company felt the need to mark this watch with an ES, which stands for Edelstahl, so stainless steel in German. And some time ago Hanhart presented this watch in a new form with massive old radium lume, which I think created some resistance. Now they got rid of that color so that our new old watch looks fresh and still very Hanhartish. So let's begin with the basics. This chronograph is a hand-wound watch with a case diameter of 39 mm, a length of 46 and a height of 13.5. The lug width is 20. The watch comes with a sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating, a regular crown and a water resistance of 100 meters. We have a bidirectional bezel with 60 clicks and a ceramic insert. And the movement is the Sellita SW510, operating at 28,800 beats per hour and with a power reserve of 58 hours. The watch wears a calf leather strap and it goes for 2,390 euros including VAT, which are around 2,100 US dollars without VAT. So we see the typical chronograph layout with two sub-dials, 30-minute counter on the right and seconds on the left. Then we have a 60-minute scale on the bezel, a tachymeter scale for speed, and a red scale with 100 subdivisions. Why is that? It's because Hanhart back then in the 60s advertised this watch for pilots and drivers, but also for engineers. And there is something called industry minute, where a minute is divided in 100 parts to make it easier to combine with decimal numbers, which are based on a subdivision of 100. And all this is made functional with a pure set of hands in white for maximal contrast, even enhanced by the dial, which isn't glossy black. We have a grainy texture to minimize reflections. Interesting, and in my opinion handsome, is also the case, which gives us this 60s Heuer speed vibe. These case types with beveled lugs were widely in use during the 60s by many companies, and here it goes nicely together with the style and functionality of the watch. I also like the wheel crown here that is very close to the original. And also the size, believe it or not, follows the historic example, which were seen back then as rather large watches. And the case is also anti-magnetic. Here you have the Caseback, rather pure with hergestellt in Deutschland, which obviously means made in Germany. And now back to the specs and back to the price. A lot of money, certainly, but in a time where we see a severe inflation of watch prices, even in the middle tier, even in case of micro brands, I find these 2,390 euros conservative. The movement alone would justify something higher because it is a high-end component, well regulated with a generous power reserve. And Hanhart is clearly one of these brands that have managed to live with their heritage and not only from it. There's development visible, and that's in my eyes a very strong point. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick overview. I will ask Hanhart for a review piece and then we can examine this watch down to the last detail. Thank you very much and see you next Monday to Watch of the Week.